everyone, welcome to Ajay and Nathan Discuss Movies, a show in which we discuss movies both old and new. Today we have a new movie that's out in theaters right now, 2-3-day-old movie that just popped in over the weekend. And Nathan, what is that movie titled, and what is the director behind this movie?
It's Wolfman by Leigh Whannell.
And before we get into our thoughts,
Yes.
briefly summarize what this movie is about.
Yes, Wolfman is about a family, mom, dad, young daughter, who traveled to the middle of nowhere in Oregon to go back to the father's family home after the death/disappearance of his own dad. And while up there in the wilderness, they encounter a ferocious beast that chases them through the woods, and now they must hide in this old family home. But things are not so safe because the father himself realizes he has been bitten, scratched by this animal, and he is slowly changing into a what? Into a wolfman. It's horrific, and that's the movie.
And how did you feel about this movie, Nathan?
I was painfully underwhelmed and just so bored throughout so much of this movie. I'm embarrassed to say I was really hyped for this movie because I'm a big fan of Leigh Whannell. I love Upgrade. I really liked The Invisible Man, and so when I saw he was going to make a Wolfman movie, I said, oh my god, that's such a no-brainer. He's gonna kill it. And then I sat down to watch it. First 15 minutes, I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. This is Wolfman. And then the rest of the movie happens after that, and I just wanted to crawl out of my skin. It was so dull as dishwater. Just, I'm so incredibly disappointed. Ajay, what are your thoughts?
I feel very similar to you. I like this film until I didn't. To borrow a classic line that is used not only in this channel but in other channels out there. I think the film did a great job in exploring the relationship between Christopher Abbott's character and Julia Garner's character. And when when it was just focused on that, without the Wolfman vibes and without him turning into a werewolf, that was great. Okay. But as soon as he turns into a werewolf, as soon as we're getting to spoilers, so we'll get into spoilers later on in the review. But as soon as one particular death happens, the film spirals out of control, and it doesn't know how to contain itself. And I think one of the issues with this film is that it's so focused on the wolf, but we don't have an understanding as to what the powers of this wolf are, and we don't truly understand what the wolf looks like. Because everything is so dark.
It's a very dark
It's a very dark movie, and not tonally. We mean like there's no light at all in this movie. Someone turn on the light. Nosferatu, turn on the light from SpongeBob. Come on.
Who's been flickering the lights?
Yes, absolutely. It's just like things like that, small things like that, really compound over time. And it makes me not enjoy the movie. I really wanted to like this movie. I really wanted to like this movie because getting into the positives already, I thought the acting was phenomenal. I thought Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner specifically, was amazing. And I thought the child actor did serviceable as well. I mean, it wasn't like Haley Joel Osment or Macaulay Culkin. I'm not saying that it's like that on par with that, but she did fine.
Serviceable for a child actor.
Absolutely. But I think in a lot of ways, like this film should have just explored the relationships, the relationship between the wife and the husband and the wife and the daughter. If it focused on that and took all the horror campy elements out of it, it would have been a better movie. And I know that may not be an opinion that many people have, but I thought there was a little bit of a charm to the movie when it really focused and delved into that relationship.
I agree with you in the sense that it should have focused more on that relationship, because it felt like that was a big crux of the story, was the relationship between this father and his family. He had a rough upbringing, and he is trying to be different and better for his family, but it is clear that he can be prone to fits of just anger, and then he has a strained relationship with his wife. I think that's all good stuff. I just don't think the movie really ever delves deep enough into that to truly make you care about these people in this situation. There's no meshing between the horror elements and the more dramatic family elements. They exist on two separate planes as the movie goes along. And a better horror movie, I feel like this movie wants to be more a remake of Cronenberg's Fly than it does like
a mix
a
of The
Wolfman.
Fly and The Thing.
It's, like isolated, someone body horror changing over time. It can be seen as an allegory for like degenerative disease, a disease passed through generations, yada, yada, yada. But it doesn't have that balance of the more fantastical elements and the more emotional elements. They're so separate, and in a movie like The Fly, it balances those things. You get the gross out body horror, but you also get the very contained, very effective dramatic character moments. And this Wolfman does not seem to know which side it wants to pick. It doesn't know whether it wants to go full in on the horror or full in on the drama, and it leaves the entire experience kind of empty.
And there is a lack of character development in this movie.
There really is.
Because at times while watching this movie, I really wanted to support the characters. I really wanted to root for the characters, but they're not given that much to work with.
No.
The characters are just a vessel for scary things to happen.
Yeah.
And in terms of scariness, nothing is scary about this movie.
No, because nothing happens. I'd say the scariest, or at least the most immersive the movie gets, are the first 15 minutes. I love that cold open. I was so ready for the entire movie to have that tension and energy. That's where the movie has that good meshing of character drama and suspense, because it's a flashback to Christopher Abbott's character as a child, and his dad is like a military man who kind of like keeps this kid on a short leash, is very commandeering, but you sense that it comes from a place of care. He just does not know how to effectively get that across. But they encounter the Wolfman while hunting, and it's such a great palpable tension in that scene where they're like hiding out in the little tree house, and you see the breath come up in front of them. You hear scuttling in the forest, and like the breath comes up from behind them. It's such a good palpable tension that builds, but that never comes back, because the entire movie we are just trapped in this house as he is slowly, and I mean slowly, turning into a Wolfman. It just is not very well paced, and there's not a lot of things that happen.
Yeah, a lot for the second act of this movie. They're just stuck in the home.
Yeah.
With not much to do. And there are interesting parts in this movie. Like, we'll get into some positives. I like the sonar parts of it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought that was
like
kind of cool.
The flashes of his POV. Those are probably the most interesting scenes of the movie as he's slowly changing.
I sort of viewed it as like a parallel of their relationship while they were in New York, where like the guy is talking, the husband's talking, the wife is busy on the phone.
Yeah.
So I sort of viewed it as a parallel to that. But again, it's just that the scary elements weren't there.
No,
and it felt like a drag. It really did feel like a drag.
Does.
And one other thing that I kind of viewed as we're tearing this film into shreds, which is not
a little bit
part of it. That's not what we're trying to do.
It doesn't come from a place of anger. I mean, we're a little angry. It doesn't come from like we truly hate and despise this. I think we're just both very disappointed because we can see the seeds of something better in it.
I mean, you mentioned early on where it's like that was the most scariest part of the film, or where they're just out in the fields, and
the forest,
they find like the rough outline of a wolf-like creature. That was the scariest part of the film, and part of the reason why is because there was not a soundtrack to it. There was no music.
No, it's pure ambiance.
It's pure ambiance, and I feel like part of the issue with this film, and I see this with many other horror movies, is that the music blares so much that it takes me out of the film. Not in this film per se, but there are instances within this film where the music is just so blaring that it takes me out of being scared.
Yeah, the soundtrack is weird. It feels like too much for this kind of movie that wants to be very minimal, and it wants to be so focused on relationships, but then you have this near operatic score that's booming in the back when kind of nothing is really occurring on the screen. It just none of it fits.
They're rushing to the cabin, and you hear sounds, and then all of a sudden the music starts playing, and it's like this sort of like I don't know, like this like tell by the director being like, "Oh, now you got to be scared." It's like, no,
It's like I'm not.
It's just a sound in the woods, and they're running quite heavily to the cabin. It's like nothing is happening here.
No, that's most of the movie is them. We're outside. Get back to the cabin. We're outside. Get back to the cabin. We're outside. Oh, we got to run back to the cabin for the 5th time today. It's so repetitive.
Yeah,
the entire experience.
So, let's get into spoilers.
Let's get into spoilers.
Where in this movie did you turn on it? Like, obviously, we had our issues with the movie, but what was that definitive moment in the movie where you're just like, all right, this is a little too much?
I had
this
lot
is on
of,
the nose.
It has to do with a lot of my expectations for the movie because, again, like I mentioned, I love Leigh Whannell's 2 previous movies, and as I was watching this, it really just lacked a lot of his style and energy that I remember from those previous 2 movies, and I was just waiting for a moment where that would kick in and I would be fully locked in to what was happening on screen. The entire movie, I was waiting because there's 2 wolfmen. There's the dad who's slowly changing, then there's the other one out in the forest who it will be a big reveal who he is. But I was waiting just like, you know what? This movie can win me back if I see these 2 wolfmen fight. I think if I can see some good, well-directed, intense wolfmen fighting, I will be locked in. I will have no complaints any longer. Because the way Leigh Whannell directs action in Invisible Man and Upgrade is so unique to him, and it is so kinetic the way the camera moves. In the movie, Wolfman, up until that point, it was completely absent of any of those tricks. And then when the wolfmen actually fight, it's so dull. It's so boring. It is Wolfman tosses other Wolfman into wall, bites, and then dead. It's over in less than a minute.
It's Batman v Superman levels of boring.
Yeah, it's just so dull. There's no sauce. There's no pizzazz. There's no energy to it. It is a flat line, and that's when I was just like, okay, so this movie really has none of the energy or creativity of the previous films. It is dropping the ball on its subtext. It's dropping the ball on its horror-focused angle. And so now I'm just kind of, I tapped out. That was the moment.
And when it's revealed that he was actually fighting his dad.
Yeah, no, it was his dad who, because at some point or another, he leaves his dad's little doomsday bunker home and just doesn't know what happened to him. But no, his dad became a wolf man. And when that happened, I sat in the theater. It was quiet. And then involuntarily, I just said, yeah, might as well. Yeah, it's a twist.
Yeah.
It's shit. I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
And I felt like the movie in that moment really wanted me to feel something, but I didn't. I think a thing with this movie is the subtext of like parents trying to take care of their kids but doing more damage. It's laid on so thick.
Yeah, it was like they tried to hit you over the head with it.
Because Julia Garner, after that moment, like Wolfman dad runs out after killing his Wolfman papa, and Julia Garner looks at her kid just like, your daddy's granddad passed on something to your dad and it's hurting him. I'm like, I get it.
Yeah, I know.
I understand. I don't care.
Yeah.
And it's just so sad because Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner are doing so much to make this material work, but there's really nothing for them to really dig into. They're doing their best and they're phenomenal performers, but there's just not enough depth to truly make you care as much as you want to.
And when the film ends and it cuts to credits, you're just asking more questions
about
the film. Like, okay, they're out in the fields in the open, but like still there's no reception there.
It's like, where's
the
are
police?
they going?
Where's law enforcement?
No,
like,
they're just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like, oh, awesome. They see mountains. What a great view. They're still in the middle of nowhere.
No, it's such an emotionally hollow kind of ending because you weren't really like with these people as much as the movie thought that you were, and so you're just left kind of like, oh, okay. I was in a pretty small theater, and like there was a guy behind me who he was basically me. He was basically like out loud speaking like what I was thinking before the movie starts. He's like, I don't know what this is gonna be, but I'm just looking for a solid monster movie. And then at the end of the movie, lights come up and he's like, was I supposed to be scared or sad? I wasn't either things. I'm just like, this man is really, I should have gotten his name, brought him here on the pod.
Yeah, that would have been a great guess. We should have had him on.
Thank you, random tattoo man, for being here.
I mean, that's the thing with the movie is that, like, for a January schlock movie, I want it to be a little bit more schlocky.
Yeah, you want a little bit, like, if it can't deliver on the emotional moments, you at least want, you know, some good Wolfman body horror fun.
It tried to take itself way too seriously.
That's exactly, yeah, I was thinking
it's
the
like,
same
know
thing.
your role. Like, you are a werewolf movie that's slated for a January release. Take yourself as seriously as that.
Have a little fun with it. Have a little creativity with it. And there were small little bursts of creativity in the movie, like we said.
I mean, when he meets his friend and he takes him into the car,
yeah,
and you think that, oh, this guy's going to kill.
This guy's kind of creepy and off-putting.
But it's revealed that he's actually a decent person, that he gets killed.
Yeah, no.
That's a good misdirect. I
was
thought
like,
that was a good scene and a good moment in the film.
Yeah.
But the bad overtakes the good.
It does, slowly, because nothing's really happening throughout the movie, and the small bursts that you do get are the most interesting stuff is when you're watching him turn into the Wolfman, but it's from his perspective. There are the changes in how he sees the world. He can no longer speak coherently. He thinks he's speaking human words fine, but then we see from his wife and kids' perspective that he's just mumbling and you can't understand anything. I really like when he just hears like this loud thumping in the house and he goes looking for the sound and he just sees a spider on the wall, and just like the thumping is because he can hear how loud just a spider on the wall is. I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool. But nothing is like done with that. There's no greater, bigger like chase scene where we see him like fully wolfed-manned using all his abilities. It just kind of is a thing that is there, and then the next 20 minutes are them just still in the house while he's just kind of throwing up.
A question I had when the movie ended was, is this like the beginning of like a trilogy or like an extended universe? Because it gave me more questions than answers.
I
and
don't
it
think
felt
so.
like a movie where I had to stick for the after credits.
What would the after credits for this movie
Thankfully,
be?
I left as soon as possible, dude. I was going to call you afterwards. I was like, dude, what did I just watch? Like, did I just waste my Sunday morning just like with my banged up car, just like driving 30, 40 minutes?
I'm so sorry for the week that you've had. You had car trouble, and then you had to go see Wolfman.
Yeah, exactly.
So sorry.
So, I mean, that's the question I had when the movie ended, was that this film feels as if I need to watch another film afterwards just to understand what this movie was about.
Yeah, it feels like only half of a story. That's what I was I have to imagine, I haven't looked up really anything, that there had to be something that happened during production or through the script writing process where this isn't technically the movie that was meant to be made. Maybe I was thinking because those first 15 minutes are so good, I thought the entire movie would be better if it were just, you know, a kind of hard-ass dad and his young son trying to take care of him, but he's kind of a dick, and also now you've got this Wolfman. I feel like that would have been a better dynamic or like story for the movie, to just cut it down, be just this little unit in a home, already strained relationship. Wolfman's here. But I don't know. There's something about the movie that feels so undercooked.
And it's like the moments where they could easily bond while like they're working on the radio transmitter or whatnot, whatever it may be. Like those are the moments where like you see like chemistry between the leads, and you're able to see like camaraderie and teamwork and the power of a relationship thwarting the evils of this mythical being. But it's not explored.
That doesn't happen. No,
it's like one by one they go and they talk to some radio transmitter. For what reason? Who are they talking to? We don't know. It's not explored in the movie.
They're not talking to anyone. No, it's
like small things like that could have really compounded over time to really explore that dynamic. It feels like a Revenge of the Fallen situation where they just completely like got away with the writers and got an entirely new batch of writers to write this script. It feels like that situation.
Wait, Revenge? Are you saying Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen?
Yeah, it feels like that.
Oh god! I mean, I would have much rather watched a Transformers film, because as bad as that is, at least things are happening. I'm just so personally disappointed because I've said it. I loved his previous movies, but for somewhere throughout this production, I have to imagine either someone said, "Hey, cut down, make this more minimal, just make it a quieter kind of film," or maybe that was a personal choice he made. Just like, I want to take out some of my flashier kind of moves and just kind of make this bare bones, but it doesn't work because you take away those flashier elements, you don't have an emotional hook to keep your audience engaged. And without those flashy elements, you don't even have a hook to keep your audience entertained.
The husband should have never been the werewolf. Ever. It should have been the three of them in this cabin, and they throw out the werewolf.
Thwart another werewolf, yeah.
That's what the movie should have been. As soon as the husband turned into a werewolf, I mean, it was already a pretty bad movie as it was, but it just railroaded down to the depths of the movie bin aisle at a Walmart where no one will pick it up. That's what it felt like.
I had an opposite reaction to this movie that I had for the last movie we watched, Better Man. That was a movie that got progressively better as it went along. This is a movie that got slowly worse as it got along. It's just such a duality in films.
Yeah, this was not a fun watch.
No.
It was a disappointing watch. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty... I mean, I had to sit nearly through like a half an hour of trailers. I don't know how long your trailers were, but like the movie was slated for 10:15 a.m., right? That was for my screening. And I'm like, okay, I'll get there like 10:30, 15 minutes of trailers. So yeah, I get there at 10:30. I'm like, okay, still trailers are happening. That Deadpool ripoff parody movie with the guy that... It's like John Wick meets Deadpool, that trailer for a movie where he, like his body can like retain its shape after it's... You don't know that trailer?
What are you talking about?
It's a comedic action film. In which,
wait,
like,
is it Jack Quaid?
Yeah.
Jack Quaid, Novocaine?
Yeah, it's John Wick meets Deadpool.
Oh yeah, that is a trailer.
Yeah,
that I did see.
That trailer happened. I'm like, okay, a few more trailers, and we'll get this movie. Nicole Kidman and the black couple will show up. And then it's 10:45, and then that actually happens, and I'm like, why are we sitting through half an hour of trailers to see a pretty bad movie?
Yeah.
I'm fine with it when it's long legs, right? When it's a decent film like that.
That's something good.
Yeah, I'm down for half an hour trailers. When it's half an hour trailers and then you watch the movie, and it's this movie, which is basically just a January film without any other schlockiness. It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
The movie's like an hour, 40 minutes.
It feels like a 3-hour movie.
It feels so much longer.
The pacing is bad. Dude.
It's so slow. It's molasses. Nothing happened.
It's just like something happened. Like at this point, like just slit your throat. At this point,
oh
like,
Jesus!
Just do something on screen for me to care.
Piss. Take a shit on the lawn, Wolfman. Do something.
Yeah, do something besides eating your own arm out. Like, come on.
God. Yeah, no. It's like it has small little gory moments like that. Like he chews off his own leg from a bear trap. And it's like
it wasn't even horrifying. It was awkward.
Yeah,
it was awkward.
It was
to
awkward
watch.
and lame. And it's like you have these little bursts of gore that mean nothing because the movie has been incredibly stale.
Oh no, his tooth came out. Oh, I'm so scared.
That's fine. My tooth came out last week. I don't see a dentist. You see me crying about it?
Yeah.
No, you don't need teeth. Teeth is for.
Dude, this movie. The more we talk about it, the more. But
the angrier.
Yeah, let's wrap up our thoughts.
Wrap up our thoughts on Wolfman.
Before I, also slit my throat
before he wolfs out, not on my couch.
Before I turn into a werewolf by the end of this movie.
To wrap up our thoughts, I had a lot of expectations for this movie. It met none of them. It was incredibly disappointing, incredibly long-winded. It was not fun. It was not engaging. It was not emotionally resonant in any part. The actors were doing their best to make it work, but it was just, I think, a weak script, and the direction was not there to help it out, which again is disappointing because Leigh Whannell's previous movies really have an edge to them. They have an energy and imagination and creativity to them that is just so absent from this movie that it's confounding. I have no idea what happened, where he lost the sauce, but this ain't it.
Yeah, I feel similar. I mean, in the beginning of the movie review, I said, yeah, this would have been a better film if it was like a relationship drama and they explored the relationships between the two. But I don't think this director is even capable of doing that. I don't think he's able to do that. And I think in a lot of ways, this film is very disappointing. This makes Maxine look like it's Sixth Sense. It makes that movie look that great in comparison. I think that this film has a lot of issues, and it is a film that has too many things going on, despite not much happening on screen.
So much happening, and yet nothing is happening.
And it feels as if you're just watching the same scenes over and over and over again. And it's tough for me to really sympathize with the characters because they don't do anything on screen. In fact, they're doing the opposite of working together through the importance of love and the importance of committing to your spouse. It's quite the opposite to it. Like halfway through the movie, I was just like, why should I care about these characters on screen? Because they're not given that much to work with. And again, Julia Garner is great. Christopher Abbott, I'm not that familiar with his acting, but in this film, I thought he had a lot to work with. I mean, he had a lot to do. But he's not given a lot to work with.
No.
And that is the issue with this film, is that time and time again while getting, I mean, obviously I'm ripping into shreds at this point, but
it's been ripped to shreds.
But time and time again, there are moments in this film where I'm like, yes, this is the right thing to do, and for some reason, whether it's the direction, whether it's what's happening on screen, I just get deterred from sympathizing with the film. And I think that's the biggest issue with the film, is that there's a lot of potential with it, but with that potential, it's squandered.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the film, you're with more questions than answers, and it leaves you feeling like you ate Chinese food, where you ate something, but you don't really feel full after it. So those are my thoughts on Wolfman. Wolfman is like Chinese food, dude.
I don't know. I've had good Chinese food before,
but I never feel full after eating Chinese food. And maybe it's the MSG, but it's one of those moments where you eat Chinese food, you enjoy it, but you never feel full. You're still like, yeah, this is cool, but I want more out of it. And that's not a dig on the Chinese people. Obviously, the Chinese people are great people. But it's on
now we're reviewing China.
We're reviewing the Chinese people with this current administration that we have. This is the vibe shift that's happening. Oh my God.
Bring it back to Wolfman.
Well, back to Wolfman. Those are our thoughts on the film.
Those are our thoughts on Wolfman.
Underwhelming.
Yeah. Disappointing. They're better werewolf movies you can watch. American Werewolf in London.
I think there are better movies that are out in theaters right now that you can watch.
Better Man is still out.
Last Baby Girl's still out, you know.
She's still Nicole Kidman's still there. Yeah. You get your double dose
Baby
of
Girl,
Nicole.
The Last Showgirl, whatever. Like I think I swapped two titles together.
The Last Baby Girl. This is the plot to Children of Men.
Yeah, I mean there are great films out there still. I mean, I think Seven is still out there. Apparently, AMC is showing like 30th anniversary showings of Seven in IMAX, so definitely go out and watch that.
That sounds like something.
There are better films out there to watch. This is not one of them.
This is not. Watch Leigh Whannell's Invisible Man. Watch Upgrade. Upgrade's an awesome movie.
Watch
dude.
Maxine. Like, you'll enjoy Maxine more than this film. I guarantee you that.
In hindsight, at least stuff kind of happens in Maxine.
There are horrifying scenes in that movie.
Guy gets his balls crushed.
Yeah.
That alone is better than Wolfman.
Yeah.
Wolfman's got nards. That's a Monster Squad reference.
Halsey's in that movie.
Halsey's in that movie. You like Halsey? Watch Maxine.
Anyways, those are our thoughts on Wolfman. Tell us what movie we should watch next.
Yeah.
So that we can just watch a movie that we decide on our own.
Give us your recommendation so we can ignore it and choose what we'd rather watch. Your voices are heard, we just never listen to them.
Yeah. Your voices are heard, but they're not processed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We hear you, but is what you're speaking words?
Yeah.
We love our fans.
Yeah, this is basically just a parallel to the film we just watched, where you talk, but it's just like Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. Yeah. Anyways, that's it on Wolfman. We'll see you next week discussing whatever.
Something.
All right. Bye.
Bye.